Let's have a look at how to make skill rolls in Call of Cthulhu. So before you call for a skill roll, ask two questions. First, is a skill roll necessary at this point in the game? And second, if the skill roll is successful, what's going to be achieved? It's hard to give a definitive answer to that first question about when you need to make a skill roll. If it's a challenging, interesting or dramatic situation and you feel a skill roll is called for, then go for it. So let's take an example using the climb skill. Think about just about every American TV show where there's a teenage kid in their bedroom, from Buffy to Stranger Things. Seems like their bedroom window opens onto a low roof and you can access that low roof up some trellis work. And it's really easy. I wouldn't even call for a skill roll for that. Now let's take another example. Your investigator has broken in to the cultist's hotel room and is sneaking around searching the place when here's the key in the lock. There's nowhere to hide, so the investigator runs to the window, opens it and creeps out onto the ledge and closes the window. The cultists are in the room, but the investigator is stuck on the ledge. He's hanging on for dear life. His only option is to climb along to another window. Now this is going to call for a climb roll. Okay, so where are we at? The player says what they're doing and the keeper picks the skill that's going to be rolled against. Now, sometimes there isn't a specific skill for the situation, and that's partly what the characteristics are there for. They're kind of catch-alls that you can use to cover just about anything. So let's take an example. The investigator is down in the old cellar and there's a big stone trapdoor. And you know what? The investigator is going to try and lift the trapdoor, see what's underneath. They do these crazy things. I don't know why. So there's no lift trapdoor skill on the sheet, right? But there is a strength characteristic. That covers it. So it'd be a strength roll. Characteristic rolls and skill rolls, they all fall under the name skill roll. This is the point where you get to roll those pretty dice. If you roll equal to or below your skill or characteristic, you've done it. It's a success. You've achieved your goal. Now, if those evil dice don't roll as you want them to, if they roll above your skill or characteristic value, you haven't achieved your goal. You've failed. But there are a few other options that we have up our sleeve, and we'll talk about those down the line a bit later. Setting difficulty levels. So the majority of skill rolls are made at normal difficulty level. That's the way I just described it just now. So you just have to roll equal to or below your skill or characteristic. Now, if the situation is one that the keeper judges to be especially challenging, the keeper may set the difficulty level as hard. To make a successful skill roll at hard level, you need those dice to roll equal to or under half your skill or characteristic value. And finally, if the investigator is attempting something which virtually stretches the bounds of what a human being might be able to do, then this demands the extreme difficulty level. To be successful at the extreme difficulty level, one must pick up those dice and roll under 1/5 of your skill or characteristic value. One method the keeper can use to determine a difficulty level is to consider the skill of the opposition. If the opposing skill is 49 or below, it's normal difficulty level. If it's 50 to 89, it's a hard difficulty level. And if it's 90 or above, it's going to be extreme difficulty level. Let's take a modern era example. The investigator has got hold of a laptop and they're trying to hack into it to get information. Now, we're going to set the difficulty level according to the computer use skill of the owner of the computer. So, looking at that, if they're a low-level computer user with a skill under 50, then it's simply normal difficulty level. Whereas if they're, at the upper end and they're an expert computer user, they've probably done all sorts of things to secure their data, it's going to be extreme difficulty level. Pushing the skill roll. So you failed at the skill roll. Okay, well, do you give up? No, you keep trying, don't you? Well, in many situations, you can have another go. And this is where pushing the roll can come in. Now, it's up to the player to justify why they get a pushed roll. They don't automatically get it. So if they just ask for a pushed roll as keeper, put it back to the player and say, well, what's your investigator doing to justify getting a pushed roll? That might include taking longer at the task, just simply having another go, taking a different approach, but something that would justify a second go at achieving success. Before the player makes their pushed skill roll, the keeper has the option of foreshadowing the consequence of failure. This means they say to the player, well, yeah, you can have another go, but if you get it wrong this time, ... Let's go back to our investigator. He's still stuck there on that ledge just outside that hotel window. He's failed the skill roll once. Failing the first time doesn't necessarily bring any particularly negative consequences, just meant that he couldn't find a way to climb to the next window, so he was stuck there. But does the player choose to push the roll? The keeper foreshadows the consequence. Pretty obvious, right? If you fail this pushed roll, you could slip and fall to your death. So the player thinks about it and decides, yes, I will push the skill roll. Okay, so you make the same dice roll, again, generally at the same difficulty level, and if it's successful, then you've achieved your goal, the same goal that you had for the original roll. But should you fail the pushed roll, then you must accept the consequences. Failing a pushed roll provides the keeper with the opportunity to push the horror back towards the players. The consequence of failing the pushed skill roll should always be more than just an absence of success. Try to make it an interesting twist of fate against the player character. Okay, let's go out to our friend once more out there on the ledge. So, yep, he's failed the pushed skill roll, the pushed climb roll to get across to that other window. And the keeper takes over, narrating how the investigator freezes and in fear and scrabbles with his hand unwittingly, knocking against the window. And the cultists hear it, run over, open the window, grab the investigator, pull him inside, and he's now at their mercy. So pushed skill rolls serve two purposes in play. First, they provide the players with an opportunity to achieve things at which they'd failed once. But second, and I think more importantly, they're a tool for the keeper to drive the story in interesting and unexpected ways. And you may find that when you foreshadow the consequences of failing a pushed skill roll to the player, that the tension rises. They begin to think, well, is this really worth the risk? Do I really want to do this? The decision is theirs. Okay, folks, well, that's all for today. Next time we'll be looking at bonus and penalty dice, opposed skill rolls, and lots of other stuff. So until then, goodbye for now.
BlasphemousTomes.com